Kepler 442b wasn't much to look at, honestly. Dust, rocks, some stubborn crops that refused to die despite the odds, and a human settlement that consisted of prefab buildings held together with optimism and duct tape. The kind of place where you went if you wanted peace, quiet, and absolutely nobody asking questions about your past, which made it the absolute last place you'd expect to find a Komati death squad. But here they were. Uktal crouched behind the ridge overlooking the colony, his thermal scanner painting heat signatures across his vision. His scales rippled with anticipation, that old familiar feeling before a hunt. Beside him, his team waited in perfect silence. Brokhun with his plasma cannon, Diskara checking her blade edges, Molith running final diagnostics on the breach charges, Kuridan monitoring communications, and Pexilla doing those unsettling stretches she always did before close combat. "Intelligence confirms this is a military outpost," Uktal growled, his translator rendering the words in flat, mechanical tones. "Humans are clever. They disguise their bases as civilian settlements." "Why would they put a base out here?" Diskara hissed, her forked tongue tasting the air. "This dust ball has nothing strategic." "Exactly what they want us to think," Uktal replied, because that's what the briefing had said. And the briefing was never wrong, except when it was, which was often, but you didn't question command. Human military doctrine relies on deception. We breach, eliminate resistance, secure the facility, standard operation. Brokhun hefted his cannon. "How many hostiles?" "Thermal shows 6 signatures in the central structure. Likely a skeleton crew." Uktal checked his rifle one last time. "We've eliminated entire platoons. 6 humans? This will be over in minutes." Oh, how wrong he was. How beautifully, catastrophically wrong. They moved in formation, silent as death, deadly as, well, as a death squad, which is literally what they were called, so points for accurate branding. The perimeter had no defenses, no turrets, no shields, no guards. Suspicious. Clearly the humans were very confident in their hidden weapons systems. Or, it was just a farming colony with 6 kids inside eating lunch. But Uktal wouldn't know that for another 30 seconds. Molith placed the breach charges on the door. Shaped plasma, enough to vaporize reinforced battle steel. Everyone stacked up, weapons ready. Uktal gave the signal. Boom! The door didn't vaporize. It sort of fell over with a sad wheeze, because it wasn't reinforced battle steel. It was aluminum. Cheap aluminum. The kind you bought from discount space catalogs. They poured through the smoke, weapons raised, targeting lasers painting the room in lethal red dots, ready for combat, ready for resistance, ready for... "Oh, hi!" Tommy looked up from his sandwich, peanut butter smeared on his cheek. "Are you guys here for the agriculture inspection? Because that's on Thursday, I think." 6 children. Not soldiers. Children. Actual, literal children, sitting around a plastic table covered in sandwich materials, juice boxes, and what appeared to be homework. Uktal's brain tried to process this. Failed. Tried again. Failed harder. This is a military installation," he managed, though his conviction was already crumbling like a cookie in milk. "This is a daycare center," Poppy corrected helpfully, pushing her glasses up. "Well, it's supposed to be a community center, but mostly it's just us because everyone else is working. Are you lost?" Diskara's scanners beeped. "Uktal, they're juveniles. Offspring, not combatants." "I can see that," Uktal snapped, because yes, he did have eyes, thank you very much. Bindi stood up, all 11 years and maybe 90 pounds of her, and walked right up to Brokhun, who was roughly the size of a small vehicle. She tilted her head back to look up at him. Your armor looks heavy. Do you want to sit down? We have chairs. Brokhun stared down at her. His weapon could atomize a tank. He had personally killed creatures that gave nightmares to nightmares. And this tiny human was asking if he needed a chair. What? Sit down, Bindi repeated, slower, like maybe he didn't understand. You know, rest? You guys look tired. We're not tired, Uktal started, but Hugo interrupted. Have you eaten? Hugo was already pulling out more bread. Because we're making sandwiches, and we've got plenty. Peanut butter, jelly, some cheese, a little bit of honey. Oh, and turkey. But it's the processed kind, sorry. When did you last eat? When did they last eat? What kind of question was that? They were a death squad. They ate when the mission allowed. Which was... Actually, Uktal couldn't remember breakfast. Or dinner yesterday. Rations were supposed to be distributed, but Kordan had forgotten to requisition them and... We're not here to eat, Pexilla snarled, though her stomach chose that exact moment to growl. Loudly. Betrayed by her own biology. Liam, the smallest one, hopped off his chair and walked right up to her. You sound really hungry. It's okay. We always make too much anyway. Tommy eats like a black hole, but even he can't finish everything. Hey, Tommy protested. I'm a growing boy. You're growing outward, not upward, Dot observed, and the other children laughed. This wasn't happening. This couldn't be happening. Uktal had stormed fortresses. He'd fought in zero-gravity combat. He'd survived the massacre at Proxima, where 80% of his unit died. He was not going to be undone by children offering him sandwiches. Listen, he tried again, raising his voice to command level. We are the Komati Death Squad. We are here to eliminate the human presence on this world. You will... eliminate? Tommy frowned. Like, you want us to leave? That's a weird way to put it, but okay. I mean, my mom's been talking about maybe moving to the inner colonies anyway. Better schools, she says. Do you guys know anything about schools in the Tau Ceti system? I heard they have actual sports teams. Uktal's translator must be malfunctioning. That was the only explanation. No, not leave, eliminate, terminate, kill. Dead silence. The children looked at each other, then back at the death squad, then at each other again. Oh, Poppy said finally, you're here to murder us. Yes, finally, understanding. Huh, she considered this. That's pretty rude. We just offered you sandwiches. Very rude, Hugo agreed. Did we do something to upset you? Because if we did, we should probably talk about it. My mom says communication is important. Molith lowered his rifle slightly. Are all human juveniles like this? Like what? Dot asked. So, calm? Well, you haven't actually done anything yet, she pointed out with impeccable logic. You broke our door, which is going to make Tommy's dad super mad because he just fixed it last month. But you haven't actually hurt anyone. Are you going to? Because if you are, maybe we should move the sandwiches. Hate for them to get ruined. Uktal felt reality slipping away like sand through his claws. You're not afraid. Should we be? Liam asked, genuine curiosity in his voice. I mean, you look scary, but looking scary and being scary are different things. My Uncle Hugh looks scary, but he cries at romantic movies. We are scary, Pexilla insisted. I've killed dozens of beings. Why? Poppy asked. What? Why did you kill them? Because they were enemies. But why were they enemies? Pexilla opened her mouth, closed it, opened it again. Because they were? That's circular reasoning, Dot observed. You need a better foundational argument. Kurdan laughed. It started as a hiss and turned into something close to actual amusement. They're lecturing us on logic. Human children are lecturing us on logic. Well, somebody should, Bindi said matter-of-factly. You broke in here saying you're going to kill us without even explaining why. That's just poor planning. What if you got the wrong address? We didn't get the wrong address, Ukatal said, though suddenly he wasn't entirely sure. Hugo had finished making sandwiches. 6 of them. He walked over and started handing them out. Here, peanut butter and jelly. It's good. You can think better on a full stomach. My mom says that too. She says lots of things, actually. Mostly about eating vegetables. But the sandwich thing is valid. Brock Hoon stared at the sandwich in his massive claw. It looked ridiculous. Tiny. Inadequate. He raised it to his mouth and took a bite. It was delicious. Damn these humans and their carbohydrate-based psychological warfare. 15 minutes later, the most feared death squad in 3 sectors was sitting cross-legged on the floor of a human daycare center, eating sandwiches and trying to figure out where everything had gone so catastrophically sideways. So, let me get this straight, Tommy said, swinging his legs from where he sat on the table. Someone paid you to come kill us, specifically? Not specifically you, Uktal said, around a mouthful of peanut butter. Why was he explaining this? Why was he eating? Why was any of this happening? The human colony. Intelligence indicated military presence. Intelligence was wrong, Dot said. She'd somehow acquired Discara's scanner and was taking it apart with a butter knife and intense concentration. This is just a farming settlement. 43 adults, 12 kids total, couple hundred acres of modified wheat, some hydroponics. No weapons except hunting rifles for the big hoppers that eat the crops. How do you know our exact population? Discara asked, watching her equipment get disassembled with growing horror. I count things, Dot replied, like this was obvious. It's interesting. Did you know this scanner uses a modified quantum flux detector? That's really outdated. They've got much better versions now that don't have the resonance drift problem. See, right here. She pointed at a component. This degrades after about 5,000 hours of use. You should replace it. That's classified military technology, Discara protested weakly. It's a sensor array, Dot corrected. Technology isn't classified, applications are. Technically, you could build this from commercial parts. Want me to show you? It'd be cheaper than military procurement. Hugo returned with juice boxes. We've got fruit punch or apple. Sorry, we're out of grape. Liam drank all the grape yesterday. I was thirsty, Liam protested. Brokhoon accepted a juice box. It was comically small in his claws. He stabbed the straw through and took a sip. This is surprisingly adequate. Right? Hugo beamed. Anyway, you were saying someone paid you? That seems like a waste of money. We're not worth killing. We're just kids and farmers. Our employer believes humans are a threat to galactic stability, Uktal explained. And wow, saying it out loud to actual humans made it sound really dumb. Poppy snorted. We're a threat? Have you met us? We can barely get our irrigation system working. Last month, half the colony got food poisoning from bad potato salad at the community picnic. Super threatening. Your species destroyed the Zilmoth Empire, Molith pointed out. Did we? Tommy looked genuinely surprised. When? 12 years ago. Battle of Kepler, 186. I was like 1 year old, Tommy said. Definitely wasn't me. Your species, Molith emphasized. Oh, well, sure. Humans do stuff. Sometimes impressive stuff, sometimes really stupid stuff. Did you know we once went to war over a bucket? True story. Look it up. The War of the Bucket. Earth History. We're not exactly consistent with our threatening. Bindi had noticed that Pexilla was favoring her left side. You're hurt. It's nothing, Pexilla said quickly. It's not nothing. You keep wincing. Hold still. Bindi went to the supply cabinet and returned with a first aid kit. Let me see. I don't need. Let her see, Uktal said tiredly, because at this point, what did it matter? They'd already surrendered their tactical position, their weapons, their dignity, and apparently their common sense. Might as well add medical treatment to the list. Pexilla's armor had a crack along the ribs, old wound, poorly healed. Bindi examined it with the practiced eye of a kid who'd grown up on a farm where injuries were common. This needs antibacterial gel and a compression wrap. When did this happen? 3 weeks ago. Mining facility raid. And you just kept working? Bindi sounded appalled. That's how infections start? Don't you guys have medical staff? We had a medic, Kurdan said quietly. Lost him 2 months ago. Budget cuts. Command said we could handle basic first aid ourselves. That's horrible, Hugo said, and he genuinely meant it. You shouldn't have to work hurt. Here. He offered Kurdan another sandwich. You look sad. Food helps with sad. Kurdan took the sandwich, ate it slowly. Your species is very strange. You're like the 5th alien to tell us that, Liam said cheerfully. We met these traders last year, the ones with the tentacles. They said we were disturbing because we keep pets. Said it was like keeping tiny prisoners. But dogs like being pets. They wag their tails and everything. Do you have pets? And just like that, Molith was talking about his hunting lizard back home. How it liked to sleep in sunbeams. How it once ate his entire supply of ration bars and got sick. How he'd stayed up all night taking care of it. Brokhun mentioned his brother's farm, the livestock, the quiet. Diskara admitted she missed gardening. Actual plants, growing in actual soil, not these sterile ship environments. They were bonding, over sandwiches and juice boxes, a death squad and 6 human children, swapping stories like old friends at a reunion. Poppy watched this with narrowed eyes. She was the observer, the one who noticed things. And she noticed something important. These weren't monsters. They were just people. Tired, underpaid, overworked people doing a job they maybe didn't even believe in. Why do you do this? She asked suddenly. Uktal looked at her. Do what? This. Death squad stuff. Killing people for money. You don't seem to like it much. Silence. Uncomfortable, heavy silence. It's what we're good at, Uktal said finally. That's a terrible reason, Tommy said. I'm good at breaking things, but my mom says that doesn't mean I should do it professionally. It pays well, Pexilla offered. Does it, though? Dot looked up from the scanner she'd now completely disassembled. Because you said you had budget cuts and lost your medic. That doesn't sound like good pay. That sounds like you're being exploited. We're elite, warriors, Brokhun said, but his heart wasn't in it. Your employees, Poppy corrected, and not well-treated ones. No medical support, cheap equipment. Seriously, Dot's right about that scanner. Probably lousy benefits. Do you even get vacation time? Vacation? Kurdan laughed bitterly. We're in the field constantly. Last break was... I don't remember. That's illegal, Bindi said firmly. At least it is for humans. Workers' rights and stuff. My mom's really into labor laws. She'd be furious if she heard this. Your mother sounds formidable, Uktal said. She's the colony administrator, Tommy supplied. She's terrifying when she's mad. One time, she made a supply ship captain cry because he tried to overcharge for medical supplies. Just cried. Actual tears. It was amazing. Liam had climbed onto Brokhoon's lap, just climbed right up like the massive warrior was a piece of furniture. You're warm, like a heated blanket. Do all Komati run this warm? Yes, Brokhoon said faintly, because apparently he was a chair now. We're cold-blooded. We thermoregulate through. Why am I explaining biology to you? Because I asked, Liam said simply. People usually answer when you ask nice. Dot had finished with the scanner and moved on to inspecting one of the plasma rifles. Tommy had somehow acquired another one and was comparing them. This one's newer. See the serial number? Different manufacturing batch. Probably issued within the last 6 months. But this one, he tapped the other rifle. This is at least 2 years old, maybe 3. Worn grip, scoring on the barrel. You need replacements. Command says our equipment is adequate, Discara muttered. Command is lying to you, Dot said flatly. This equipment is barely functional. You know what I think? I think whoever hired you sent you here hoping you'd fail. Cheap gear, bad intelligence, no support. This was a suicide mission. The death squad looked at each other, then at their equipment, laid out and disassembled by curious children, then at the sandwiches in their claws. Oh, Uktal said softly. Oh no. Yeah, Poppy agreed. Somebody set you up. Question is, what are you going to do about it? What Uktal wanted to do was deny it, rage against it, insist that the mission was legitimate, that Command valued them, that they weren't expendable assets being thrown away on false intelligence. But he'd been a soldier for 30 years. He knew the signs, knew how empires treated troops they considered acceptable losses. We report back, he said heavily. Tell Command the intelligence was faulty. Request extraction. And then what? Poppy pressed. They send you on another bad mission? With worse equipment? Until eventually you don't come back? That's how it works, Pexilla said quietly. We knew that when we signed up. That's stupid, Liam declared from his perch on Brokhoon's lap. You should quit. We're soldiers. We don't just quit. Why not? Liam asked, with the devastating simplicity only an 8-year-old could muster. Because of honor, Uktal wanted to say. Because of duty. Because it's all we know. Because we don't know what else to do, Cordan said instead. And there it was, the truth, raw and uncomfortable. Hugo had been thinking, his face scrunched up in concentration. You said you need to report back, right? So you have to call someone? Our ship is in orbit. We check in every hour. And you're supposed to check in saying, what? Mission accomplished? Humans eliminated? Yes. But you haven't eliminated us, Tommy pointed out. You've eaten our sandwiches and let Dot take apart your stuff. That's like the opposite of elimination. We're aware, Uktal said dryly. Dot looked up from the rifle she'd reassembled, incorrectly, on purpose, so it wouldn't fire. So tell them the truth. Tell them it was a civilian colony and you're not child murderers. They'll consider it mission failure, Discara said. It is mission failure, Bindi pointed out. You failed to murder children. That's good failure. The best kind of failure. Command doesn't see it that way. We'll be court-martialed, probably executed for cowardice. Wait, seriously? Tommy sat up straighter. They'd kill you for not killing us. Military law is very clear about refusing orders. The children exchanged looks. Some unspoken communication passed between them, the kind that siblings and close friends develop. Tommy gave a small nod. Okay, he said. New plan. You don't tell them you failed. You tell them we were heavily armed and you're regrouping for a second assault. Buy yourself some time. Time for what? Molith asked. To figure out what to do next. You can't go back, and you obviously can't stay here trying to kill us because, 1, we've already established you're bad at it, and 2, our parents will be home in a few hours, and my mom will absolutely destroy you. Not with weapons, with words and guilt. So much guilt. You want us to desert? Uktal said slowly. I want you to not die for a dumb reason, Tommy corrected. Big difference. Poppy was already planning. We've got empty storage buildings on the north side. You could hide your ship there. This planet's barely surveyed. Nobody checks on us. You could figure things out. We can't just... Uktal started. Why not? Liam interrupted. You were just going to kill us without thinking about it. Why can't you not kill us without thinking about it? Seems easier, honestly. The logic was so backward, it came around to making sense. Brokhun shifted, careful not to dislodge Liam. Even if we wanted to, which I'm not saying we do, what would we do here? We're soldiers, not farmers. So learn, Bindi said. People learn new stuff all the time. Last year I didn't know how to fix an irrigation pump. Now I do. It's not that hard. Farming is significantly different from combat, Diskara said. Is it, though? Hugo tilted his head thoughtfully. You've got to plan, adapt, work as a team, deal with unexpected problems. Sounds pretty similar. Just with less shooting and more vegetables. Dot had moved on to examining their communication equipment. This encryption is garbage, by the way. I could crack it with a basic algorithm. Your command probably monitors everything you say. Of course they do, Kurdan said. Standard protocol. Doesn't that bother you? No privacy, no trust, just constant surveillance? It did. It really, really did. But saying so out loud felt like treason. Poppy stood up and went to the window. Parents will be back in about 3 hours. Son's in the right position. So here's what I think. You've got 3 choices. 1, go back to your ship, report failure, get executed. 2, complete your mission, kill 6 kids, probably still get executed because we're not actually a military threat, and command will know you wasted resources. 3, fake a tactical retreat, hide out, and figure out if there's a life that doesn't involve someone always trying to get you killed. Those aren't real choices, Paxilla said. Option 3 is desertion. Option 1 and 2 are death, Tommy countered. At least option 3 has snacks. Okatal's communicator chirped. Check-in time. 6 pairs of human eyes watched him. 6 pairs of Komati eyes watched him back. He activated the comm. Oktal to command. Report, came the cold, mechanical voice. Target location confirmed. Heavy resistance encountered. Multiple defensive emplacements. Requesting time to assess tactical approach. Pause. Long pause. Intelligence indicated minimal defenses. Intelligence was incorrect. Requesting additional time. Another pause. You have 12 hours. Do not fail again, Uktal. The comm went dead. Well, Brokhun said. That was ominous. That was command basically saying you're disposable, Dot translated. They don't care if you succeed or die. Probably prefer the latter. Cheaper than a pension. We don't get pensions, Kordan muttered. My point exactly. Hugo had started making more sandwiches. Stress cooking, his mother called it. So you've got 12 hours. Want to spend them eating and thinking? Or standing around being miserable? When you put it that way, Molith said, accepting another sandwich. Pass the jelly. Over the next hour, something strange happened. The death squad started to relax. Not completely. They were still trained warriors in enemy territory. But enough that shoulders loosened, weapons stayed holstered, and actual conversation happened. Bindi challenged Paxilla to an arm wrestling match. Lost spectacularly, but earned a nod of respect. Liam had convinced Brokhun to tell stories about other worlds. The big warrior's voice softened as he described crystal caves on Methuselah 9, bioluminescent forests on Kepler 62e, ice formations on Europa that sang in solar winds. Dot and Diskara were deep in technical discussion about scanner modifications, sketching diagrams on notebook paper. Tommy and Ukatal had somehow ended up playing cards, a human game called Gin Rummy that Tommy was absolutely destroying him at. "You're cheating," Ukatal accused without heat. "I'm strategizing," Tommy corrected. "Not my fault you've got tells. Your left eye ridge twitches when you've got a good hand." "It does not." "It absolutely does. See? There. You just did it." Ukatal touched his eye ridge self-consciously. Damn these observant human children. Hugo and Molith were discussing cooking, of all things. Molith describing traditional Komati cuisine, mostly raw meat and fermented grains, while Hugo explained the chemical reactions that made bread rise and why temperature control mattered in baking. "You put science into food?" Molith asked, fascinated. "All cooking is science. Chemistry, biology, physics. It's just delicious science." Poppy and Cordon had found common ground in strategy games. She'd pulled out a battered chess set, and they were 3 games deep, evenly matched. "Your species invented this?" Cordon asked, studying the board. "Centuries ago. It's about thinking ahead, predicting your opponent, sacrificing pieces for position. Like warfare. Like warfare, but nobody actually dies, so it's better." "Fair point." When Uktal's communicator chirped again, 6 hours later, the death squad had been given the full tour of the facility, helped reorganize the storage closet, learned 3 human card games, and consumed approximately 24 sandwiches. "Uktal, status?" He looked around the room. At his team, more relaxed than he'd seen them in months. At the human children who'd somehow neutralized an elite kill squad with nothing but kindness and peanut butter. At the choice that wasn't really a choice at all. "Still assessing," he said. "Resistance more significant than anticipated. May require alternate approach. You have 6 more hours. Make them count." When the comm went silent, Tommy looked at him. "You're stalling." "I'm thinking." "About what?" "About whether 6 children could really offer refuge to war criminals." "You're not war criminals," Bindi said firmly. "You're just people in a bad situation." "We've killed—" "In combat, following orders, believing you were doing the right thing," Poppy interrupted. "That's different from murder. Intent matters. Context matters. Galactic law might disagree." "Then galactic law is dumb," Liam declared. "You should stay. We've got room. And you make Brokhun warm, and he's basically a living heater, which is great for winter." Brokhun made a sound that might have been a laugh. "I'm not a heating appliance." "You could be, though," Liam said hopefully. Uktal looked at his team. "Opinions?" "I'm tired," Diskara said quietly. "Tired of killing. Tired of being expendable. Tired of pretending it matters." "Same," Molith agreed. "I haven't slept well in 2 years," Cordon admitted. "Keep having dreams about the people about missions. Maybe nightmares, not dreams." Pexilla nodded. "I joined to protect people. Somewhere along the way, it became about hurting them instead. I don't know how that happened." Brokhun was silent for a long moment. Then, "These children showed us more respect in 6 hours than Command has in 6 years. What does that say?" "That we've been on the wrong side," Uktal said softly. "So?" Tommy prompted. "What are you going to do about it?" What Uktal did was stand up, walk to the window, and stare out at the dust-covered fields of Kepler 442b. Behind him, he could feel everyone waiting. 6 children who'd somehow seen past the weapons and armor to the people underneath. 5 warriors who'd followed him into countless battles and deserved better than a meaningless death on a backwater planet. "Cordon," he said, without turning around. "Can you scramble our communications? Make it look like interference?" "Easily. This planet's ionosphere is already causing problems. I can amplify it. Make it look like we lost signal during combat." "Do it. We're going dark." Poppy grinned. "You're staying." "We're staying," Ukatal confirmed, turning back to face them. "At least until we figure out what comes next, which means we need to hide our ship before your parents return and ask uncomfortable questions." Tommy jumped up. "Storage Building 6 is biggest. Got a roof and everything. Nobody uses it because it's got that weird smell. But we've lived in worse," Brokhun said, standing up carefully so Liam didn't fall. The boy had somehow fallen asleep on his lap, sprawled across the warrior's chest like a very trusting cat. Dot was already calculating. "Your ship's what, 40 meters? Building 6 is 50 by 30. Should fit with clearance. We'll need to clear out the old equipment first." "We can help with that," Molith offered. "Obviously," Bindi said. "You're not guests anymore. You're refugees. Refugees help out." The word hung in the air. Refugees. Not warriors, not killers, not death squad. Just people fleeing a bad situation, looking for somewhere safe. Diskara's eyes went shiny. "I haven't been safe in so long I forgot what it felt like." Hugo handed her a napkin. "It's okay to cry. My mom says crying is just your feelings taking a bath." "Your mother says very strange things," Pexilla observed. "Yeah, but she's usually right. Come on, let's get you guys hidden before the parents show up." The next hour was organized chaos. 6 children and 6 alien warriors, moving equipment, clearing space, covering tracks. Tommy coordinated like a tiny general, directing traffic and making sure nothing important got broken. Dot disabled the tracking beacons on the Komati equipment. Basic stuff, really. Just a magnetic pulse to the power source. While Poppy worked out a cover story. "We'll say you're researchers," she decided. "Studying, agricultural adaptation in non-native species. Very boring. Nobody asks questions about boring stuff." "We look nothing like researchers," Ukatal pointed out. "You look exactly like researchers who've been in the field too long," Poppy corrected. "All scientists get weird after enough time in isolated locations. It's like a rule." Liam had woken up and appointed himself as Brokhun's guide. "This is the bathroom, but the toilet only works sometimes. You have to jiggle the handle. This is the kitchen, but don't use the left burner. It catches fire. This is—" "Why is everything in this colony broken?" Brokhun asked, bemused. "We're pioneers," Liam said proudly. "Everything's always broken when you're pioneering. That's how you know you're doing it right." By the time the colonists started returning from the fields, Storage Building 6 housed one heavily modified Komati attack ship, 6 very nervous alien warriors, and enough false documentation to make them look legitimate. Barely. Tommy's mother arrived first. Dr. Patricia Cole, colony administrator and part-time physician, covered in dust and looking exhausted. She stopped dead when she saw the broken door. "Tommy?" "Yes, Mom?" "Why is our door on the ground?" "Funny story about that." "And why are there 6 Komati standing in our community center?" Because of course she'd noticed. Dr. Cole noticed everything. It was her superpower and Tommy's curse. Uktal stepped forward, trying to look non-threatening. Hard to do when you're a 2-meter-tall lizard person with visible weapon scarring. Dr. Cole, I'm Yuktal. We're researchers studying agricultural adaptation, I heard, she interrupted, arms crossed. Funny how researchers need plasma rifles for crop analysis. Mom, Tommy tried. Thomas David Cole, you will explain right now why there are armed aliens in a building full of children. Or so help me. They were going to kill us, but we gave them sandwiches instead, and now they're defecting from military service because their command structure is exploitative and they're good people who just need help, Tommy said in one breath. Silence. Dr. Cole looked at her son, at the Komati, at the other children, who all nodded confirmation, at the broken door, back to the Komati. Sandwiches, she said flatly. Peanut butter and jelly, Hugo supplied. Very effective. They were sent to eliminate the colony, Poppy added. Bad intelligence said we were a military installation. We're farmers, Dr. Cole said. That's what we told them, Bindi agreed. Dr. Cole pinched the bridge of her nose. I need coffee. No, wine. No, both. Someone start talking and make it make sense. So they did. The whole story spilled out. The death squad's arrival, the sandwiches, the realization about the suicide mission, the decision to desert. Dr. Cole listened without interrupting, her expression unreadable. When they finished, she was quiet for a long moment. You know I have to report this to the colonial authority, she said finally. Uktal nodded. We understand. Which is me. I'm the colonial authority. She smiled, sharp and sudden. And I say we have 6 new researchers studying agricultural adaptation. Welcome to Kepler 4422b. You break anything, you fix it. You eat our food, you help grow it. You live here, you contribute. Clear? Crystal, Ukatal managed, slightly stunned. Good. Tommy, you and your friends help our guests get settled. Show them the quarters in Building 6. Brokhun. It is Brokhun? Yes, Doctor. You look like you know your way around heavy equipment. Our harvester broke down last week. Think you can fix it? Probably? Excellent. Diskara, I'm going to need those sharp eyes for survey work. We've been trying to map the northern quadrant, but keep missing details. Molith, our water reclamation system needs work, and I understand demolition experts know a lot about structural engineering. Pexilla, we could use someone with medical training. You do have medical training? Field medicine, Pexilla said cautiously. Better than nothing. We've got a clinic that's more wishful thinking than actual facility. Kordan, communications expertise? Our satellite relay is ancient and temperamental. Ukatal, your management, which means you get to help me with the absolutely thrilling work of resource allocation and community planning. She rattled off assignments like she'd been planning this for weeks, not minutes. The Komati looked at each other, bewildered. You're just accepting us? Diskara asked. Honey, we're a colony of misfits on the edge of mapped space. Half the people here are running from something. Bad marriages, bad debts, bad pasts. We don't ask questions, we just work together. You want to join that? Welcome. You want to cause problems? There's the door. Well, there will be a door once someone fixes it. I'll fix the door, Molith volunteered. See? Fitting in already. Other colonists started arriving. There were questions, sure, but Dr. Cole's stamp of approval went a long way. By sunset, the Komati had been integrated into the work rotation, assigned quarters, and invited to the community dinner, where they sat, utterly overwhelmed, as 43 humans of all ages welcomed them with the kind of casual acceptance that their own military had never offered. Pass the potatoes? Asked an elderly woman named Betty, who'd apparently killed someone in self-defense on Mars and fled to the outer colonies. Brookhun passed the potatoes. Thanks, dear. You're very polite for a death squad. Former death squad, he corrected. Even better. Former anything is always more interesting than current anything. Across the table, a man named Paul, former corporate embezzler, was discussing crop rotation with Discara. See, the problem is nitrogen depletion. We plant legumes every third season to fix it, but there's got to be a better way. Bacterial supplementation, Discara suggested. We used it on military installations, enhanced soil bacteria that process atmospheric nitrogen more efficiently. Can you teach us? Yes? I think so. Liam had claimed his spot back on Brookhun's lap, eating mashed potatoes with his hands like a tiny barbarian. You're definitely staying, right? Because you promised to tell me about the ice caves. I did not promise. You implied it. Implying is basically promising. That's not how language works. It is now. Brookhun looked helplessly at Dr. Cole, who just smiled. Welcome to fatherhood. That boy's decided you're his now. Good luck. I'm a warrior, not a parent. Not anymore, she said cheerfully. Now you're a farmer with a shadow. Eat your vegetables. Uktal found himself sitting next to Tommy's father, a quiet man named Marcus, who built things and asked thoughtful questions. My son says you're good at strategy, Marcus said. It's my training. We could use that. Colony planning, resource management, defense against wildlife. Nothing violent, just thinking ahead. You interested? I've only ever done military strategy. Strategy's strategy. Same brain, different application. You'll figure it out. Maybe he would. Maybe they all would. After dinner, as the Komati walked back to their new quarters in Building 6, Cordon said what they were all thinking. This is insane. Completely, Paxilla agreed. We're farmers now, Molith said, testing the words. Farmers. We were soldiers this morning, Discara pointed out. Now we're farmers. That's possibly the strangest career change in history. We were dead this morning, Uktal corrected quietly. Now we're alive. I'll take farmer over dead. Fair point. They reached Building 6. Their ship sat in the darkness, sleek and deadly, and completely out of place. A reminder of what they'd been. We should disable the weapon systems, Uktal decided. Strip them down. Use the parts for something useful. Like what? Brookhun asked. I don't know. Farm equipment? Ask Dot. She'll figure it out. That girl is terrifying, Molith said with genuine admiration. She took apart our scanner in 15 minutes. The boy isn't bad either, Discara added. Tommy, he saw through every bluff, read every tell. If he'd been our commander, we'd have won every battle. Good thing he's using his powers for sandwich diplomacy instead, Paxilla said. They stood there in the darkness, 6 warriors who'd laid down their weapons for sandwiches and second chances. So, Cordon said eventually, what do we do now? Now, Uktal looked up at the unfamiliar stars of Kepler 442b. Now we learn to farm. We fix things. We become whatever comes after warrior. And if command comes looking, then they'll find 6 researchers studying agricultural adaptation, Uktal said firmly, and 43 humans who won't give us up, and 6 children who defeated a death squad with peanut butter and sheer audacity. Think that'll be enough? Against command? No. Uktal smiled, feeling the expression strange on his face after so long. But against the universe? Maybe. Humans seem to specialize in maybe. Inside Building 6, they found sleeping quarters already prepared. Blankets, pillows, basic supplies. A note in Tommy's handwriting, "Welcome home. Please don't murder anyone. Management." "I like that kid," Brokhun said. "We all do," Ukatal agreed. "That's the problem and the solution all at once." They settled in, weapons stowed, armor removed, just people in a strange place trying to figure out how to be something other than instruments of death. Outside, Kepler 442b's sun set in shades of orange and gold. Dust settled, crops grew, and somewhere in the darkness, 6 children slept peacefully, utterly unconcerned that they'd just converted a death squad into farmers with nothing but sandwiches and stubborn kindness. Because that's what humans did. They saw the impossible and said, "Okay, but have you tried being nice about it?" And somehow, impossibly, it worked. 3 months later, Uktal was elbow-deep in a broken irrigation pump when Kordan's voice crackled over the comm. "Ship incoming. Komati signatures." His blood went cold, then hot, then settled somewhere around resigned. "How many?" "Just one. Scout class. They're hailing us." Of course they were. Uktal wiped his hands, covered in grease and soil now, not blood, and walked to the communications hub. The entire colony gathered, humans and Komati alike. Tommy stood at the front, arms crossed, looking far too confident for a 12-year-old. "Put them through," Uktal said. The screen flickered. A Komati officer appeared, scales pristine, armor gleaming. Everything Uktal used to be. "Uktal, you failed to report. Command assumed you dead." "We had complications." "Evidently. Intelligence now shows the colony remains operational. Explain." Uktal looked at his team, at the humans who'd taken them in, at Liam, currently riding on Brokhun's shoulders, at Dot, who'd completely redesigned their scanning equipment, at the life they'd built from sandwiches and second chances. "We discovered the intelligence was false," he said carefully. "This is a civilian farming operation. No military value. We determined elimination was unjustified." Silence. Then, "You refused orders." "We completed our assessment. The target posed no threat." "That's not your decision to make." "Actually," Dr. Cole stepped forward, "it absolutely was. And they made the right one. This colony is under human protection now. All residents, including our 6 agricultural consultants." The officer's expression hardened. "They're deserters." "They're refugees," Tommy corrected, stepping up beside Dr. Cole. "And we're keeping them. Come try to take them and see what happens." The 12-year-old, staring down a trained killer through a view screen, absolutely fearless. The officer looked at Tommy, at the assembled colonists, at Uktal, who stood straight and unashamed. "This conversation isn't over," the officer said finally. "Yeah, it is," Tommy replied. "Go away. We've got planting to do." The screen went dark. Silence. Then Brokhun started laughing. Deep, genuine laughter that spread through the group like wildfire. Even Uktal smiled. "Did a child just dismiss a military officer?" Pexilla asked. "He did," Dr. Cole confirmed. "And they left, because that's what humans do. We take the broken things and make them whole. Speaking of which, Uktal, that pump isn't going to fix itself." "Right. Sorry. On it." He returned to the irrigation system, hands in the dirt, surrounded by family. Former death squad, current farmers, future undetermined. But for now, they were home.